So, Mother's Day is coming up, and this is a perfect gift for our Mother's Day segments. I have practicing psychotherapist and author Meg Stafford on, and her latest book is called Who Will Accompany You? And she's going to tell us what it's all about, but it's all about mother-daughter journey. So I thought it was a nice idea for this Mother's Day. Meg, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be here with you.
So, tell us, I know your book has a longer subtitle. I just said Who Will Accompany You, but tell us the whole title of the book.
So, Who Will Accompany You? And then the subtitle is My Mother-Daughter Journeys Far from Home and Close to the Heart.
Exactly. And I know we were talking a little and you started to tell us. So tell us I guess the gist of the book, and how did you get the idea to make it into a book?
Yes. The first part of the book goes back and forth between my voice and my 17-year-old daughter's voice about our trip that we took to Nepal and Bhutan when she was a senior in high school. For her senior project, she was studying the question, what is happiness? And she wanted to study meditation and Buddhism at a monastery in Kathmandu. And we could not just pop her on a plane and say, well, have fun there across the world. But we also didn't want to stop her from going. So we decided that I would go with her, and we deposited her at the monastery in Kathmandu after a couple of days. And a friend of mine from the States near Boston here met me, and we took a trek to the Annapurna base camp while she was studying there. And so the book goes back and forth between what her experience was like there by herself, well, with a group of others, but people she'd never known before, and my experience trekking to the base camp. Because although I was not sitting, it was very meditative because there were not a lot of people there on the trail. And it goes back and forth what it was like to be away from each other without communication for any of it. And I thought my original title of the book was actually Sitting on Top of the World, where she was literally sitting up there in the Himalayas and I was trekking and sitting. But then the second part, which is about the time that my older daughter, when she was 23, was the observer witness in the rural countryside of Colombia. And I visited her for a week. So she was, where she was staying in the community for the first part of this was a 45-minute open air Jeep ride and an hour-and-a-half hike up to the community. So that definitely defines remote in my and I needed to just be there because it felt like a very dangerous situation, and it was hard to have my young daughter being there. So that goes again back and forth between our voices. What was it like for her to be literally walking with people from the community to different parts of their community or to town, to the hospital?
Exactly.
And my experience, I had a wonderful experience with her there. And then the last part is like, where's my husband in all this? What did it mean in our marriage that I was sometimes popping off with our daughters? So I talk a little about how travel came to our family and what it has meant for all of us. So that was the long answer to that question.
Yeah, no, that's good. That explains that you needed to do all that. But, I think it's so wonderful because, a lot of people send their kids off to places that we don't know anything about. And I think it's such a great idea that you accompanied both of them in some way, to both places. I think that's really a great idea. and to do that, and would recommend that to other parents too, you know, if it's possible. Obviously it's not always possible, but it's great because then they get to go where they want to go, but you accompany them.
Right.
So, you know, at least you get to kind of see as much as you can, and check in and stuff like that, instead of just kind of throwing them out there and really not knowing what's going on,
And it's
especially in remote places that, you know, you can't always be there quickly online or whatever. So I think that was a great idea. Did they like balk at the idea that, oh, mom's got to come along, or were they happy about that?
it was something that I thought a lot about,
Right,
actually.
right.
And when I was rejoining Kate after my trek,
Uh-huh.
we dropped off my friend who went to the airport, and then I went and stayed with her a couple of nights, one night at the monastery, and then we stayed another couple of nights in Kathmandu and went on to Bhutan. And
Uh-huh.
I wasn't sure how she would receive me because I didn't want to encroach on her time.
Right.
But her class had ended at that time, and so
Uh,
she was just staying. And it gave us an opportunity for her to play tour guide for me because
exactly.
she, at that point, was familiar with some of the area, and
Exactly.
we were able to take a walk down to Buddhanath. And it happened that the very next day was Holi, and it is this holiday where they throw balloons filled with orange and yellow and red tinted water at each other. And so they end up covered in these various colors. And the people who had organized my tour said, don't go out on that day. Wait until 4 o'clock. They have to stop at 4 o'clock. But it's like, there's no way I'm going to be spending this one
Wait,
day that I'm
not to
there right
interrupt you.
there
So what's the name of
inside.
this holiday? What's it called?
It's Holi. So it's a
Lee.
holy,
And
but
this
it's
was in
very upbeat.
Bhutan or Nepal?
I'm sorry, this was in Nepal, but I believe that there is a similar holiday in India.
Uh-huh.
Uh, but but I was not prepared because we just set out, and within minutes of walking,
Right.
people were tossing balloons at us. Like, okay,
It
I see
sounds
what's
like though
happening here.
it's a happy kind of, you
Yes,
know,
it's
with all
very
those
up.
colors, it's
Yes,
very uplifting and happy.
yes,
So
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes. And what time
It's
of the year is that?
uh, it was in early March, I believe, and I'm not sure if it's a specific day or like
Oh,
like a
it's
specific uh
exactly
time in the year,
in
but
the year. Exactly. Oh, wow. That's
we
pretty
did get
neat.
a taxi to where we were going after that. And then and there were places that were protected from all the balloon throwing, but I think Kate would
So
have been fine with it.
there's like everything is kind of, it's not like a holiday that things are closed and things. Everything is protected, I guess, because they know people are going to be doing that. And I guess people have off from work or their jobs and stuff too. Is that
Like
true?
the shops that we were going to were all open,
Oh,
and
okay. It's
people
just
are
probably like
prepared.
a fun thing. Maybe it's like a Halloween type of a, you know, for us where it's that type of a holiday.
Right,
So,
yes, things aren't closed, but people know that there are people going to be throwing balloons at them, so they're not wearing their best clothing. And
exactly,
it was
exactly.
just unfamiliar to me, but it's so colorful. It's really
Yes.
it
Oh,
was very fun from that
that's
standpoint.
great. That's great. That sounds like that was a neat experience going there. So, is there
Yeah.
anything else you can tell us about, like any of your favorite parts in the book?
Um, Bhutan, spending time together with my daughter in Bhutan was
Uh,
really an interesting experience. They're just opening up to uh, tourists at that time. They're intentionally doing it gradually because they don't want to be flooded. So there weren't flights every day, but it's our hike to the Taxtang Monastery, which is built into the mountainside. Just if you look it up, TAK STANG, it is just a beautiful building, and you can see it as you're hiking up. It's just stunning, just set in the mountains there.
That's amazing, because most of us haven't had that experience, and will never. So it's certainly an amazing experience that you had, and then to turn it into a book is amazing too. So it's kind of cathartic, I guess, to write it all out and kind of get to replay, right, what you did. And that's, it's just wonderful. So the book, where can people find the book?
It's available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble, and sort of your typical online booksellers. My website, www.megstafford.com, will direct you there, or www.whowillaccompanyyou.com will take you right to the book.
Okay. And do you have any accounts on Facebook or Instagram or anything you want to tell people about? Or
it's Instagram, Meg Stafford 2183. And we'll take you there. It talks about some of the things that have been happening with the book. I'm also on LinkedIn, Meg Stafford. And Facebook, just with Meg and Sperber Stafford. Sperber's my maiden name, so in parentheses there. So you can find
So are you guys going anywhere else that you're thinking of writing another book about? Any other interesting places that your daughters are going to?
One of my daughters may come with me to Lithuania this summer. I'm actually going to be attending a music festival, which is put on by a violinist who lives here. I'm in the Boston area. She lives in the Boston area. She's originally from Lithuania, but she has set up this music festival for the last 10 years for up and coming musicians who do not have access to the kind of training that she did. And so they get free master classes, and concerts are free all week long. I have written about this effort of hers. And so this time Gail will accompany me and attend concerts with me while I am writing about that.
That's interesting. I hope you are turning that into a book. That sounds like a really interesting, and that's like Who Will Accompany You Part 2. So kind of, definitely. Oh, that's really an interesting trip. Well, much success with that, and I hope you let us know, keep us posted on that trip and that book too. I mean, when you come back, if you want to, come on, just let me know. I'd love to hear about it even before you get the book going. That sounds like a really, really interesting trip, Meg.
I'm really looking forward to that. I've never been, so it's a part of the world I'm not familiar with.
Exactly.
It was actually a family trip that we took to Italy. That served as one of the inspirations for my girls to travel. So we went to, when Kate was about 15 and Gail was 19, so she was in college, but we started in Venice over Christmas vacation and visited also Florence and traveled by train and went to Siena. And it was, I know that you're very familiar with all these places, and it was just a delight to be with them there.
That was
cold.
great.
It was unseasonably cold.
Yes. But that was great that you were able to go with them there too. It's amazing. Yes, that's wonderful. Well, that's great. So yes, definitely let us know about your trip to Lithuania or any other interesting place. We're always loving to travel through the podcast. We get to travel a lot.
Oh, great. I would be delighted to.
Yes, Meg, thank you so much for being here, and much success with that book. And we'll be seeing you soon.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you.